And so there's a lot of control that ultimately we have. We're basically placing a version of our issuer, our stablecoin issuer, on that chain. And ultimately, it's our issuer that we would control and the ability to freeze and claw back if we ever wanted to do that. How we would work with Wormhole to do that is, the sort of exciting opportunities that we're exploring together, because I think it opens up a much broader range of utility and use cases and can get us there in a much more, I think, expeditious and compliant way. But we think about, different lenses, and as part of what the partnership, I think, will bring to us, that there are other, different areas that we have expertise in, that we are each incentivized, if you will, to really focus on what we do best and then rely on the other for those other areas.
Amazing. So interoperability is the core pillar of all of this. What do you guys think is still missing in the ecosystem to make multi-chain stablecoins like truly enterprise ready, and how are you addressing those things?
I would say, and I would say this, a lot of things in crypto, when you ask about adoption, I still think there's just some basic education that needs to happen at the user level, at the regulatory level, et cetera, and really to distilling out what the differences are between different chains. I think there's also a greater understanding that needs to evolve around the utility, because I think the industry is searching for real-world use cases. And this whole idea that we're talking about today around interoperability and multi-chain is not a scary concept. It's actually something that we should all embrace. And I think as an industry, we're a bunch of builders and are trying to build towards that. I was actually speaking with David Schwartz earlier about this topic. And he said we're many, many, many years away from any one chain being able to claim dominance, whether you're a XRP maxi or a Bitcoin maxi or fill in the blank. But there's just still so much opportunity to grow, and that we should be cheering each other on and each growing. And I think what Robinson, you and your segment of the industry are doing, I think is very helpful in terms of opening more doors, more opportunities for wide-scale adoption. And so I think it's education. I think it's infrastructure, enabling that to happen, where you preserve liquidity, preserve utility, and preserve regulatory compliance, security. Each one of those buckets, I think, have more opportunity to advance.
Yeah, and maybe I'll think about this just a little bit more technically. I would say we're there in terms of enterprise adoption, and I sometimes view Wormhole, think of us as like a multi-chain asset issuer. So thinking about how we work with institutions today. Institutions, in 2021, 2022, we kind of had the meme, institutions are coming. You could argue that FTX kind of set us back a few years, but they're absolutely here. So we are responsible for flows, for instance, of BUIDL, BlackRock's flagship money market fund, Apollo's private credit fund, ACRED. We manage all those flows between chains when you want to send them between chains. And I think if the technology wasn't to a point where they felt it was secure and safe enough, they wouldn't do that. And if we use some of the examples of that I gave about kind of the 4 or 5 year history we've been through with asset movement between chains. A lot of the asset movement prior was what I would call protocol or bridge-owned assets. So it's a lot of lock-and-mint bridges, and I'll be the first to say Wormhole was responsible also for liquidity fragmentation. That was just what we did back then. It was always hard to know the second, third order effects of things, but all the bridges did this, right? Effectively, if you are a bridge and you bridge something to another chain, you are in essence an asset issuer. So if you're bridging any sort of ETH, any sort of stable coin, you will have multiple versions because the bridge owns the asset. So the main difference where we're at today is with all these multi-chain asset frameworks, we go from bridge-owned or protocol-owned to asset issuer, developer, user, whatever acronym, meaning like they own the contracts, not the bridges, who's ever issuing that asset. So that could be a custodian, it could be someone in the XRPL ecosystem, et cetera. But because of that, you own upgrade authority. So it's future-proof, meaning like, and my team will probably kill me for saying this, but like, let's say a big stablecoin or a big institution wanted to use our multi-chain asset issuance platform, NTT, they could upgrade the contract and remove Wormhole messaging if they wanted to, right? So that to me is future-proof, meaning like, if something happened to Wormhole, if something happened to their validator network they use to share state between chains, they can upgrade it, remove it, put something else in and move on. They can also set rate limits, right? You can monitor set flows. We only want 5 million to go between chains every 24 hours. I think BlackRock does this today, for instance. And so what this does is you only have one native version across all these chains. So we went from like looking at 5 in our wallet to 1. The supply remains fixed. The user's happy. You can have deep liquidity on any DEX, because if I'm a DEX on Solana or XRPL or any chain, which version of an asset do I choose, right? Do I choose this flavor of stablecoin, this one, or this one? Now they don't have to decide. So I guess my argument would be, I think we're there. And we're going to start seeing it more with more stablecoins, more institutions, et cetera.